We all have that one friend whose house is always spotless. Or, hey, maybe that person is you. And we usually just write it off as, oh, they're just disciplined, or they're a neat freak. But what if there's something much deeper going on? What if the state of your home is actually a window into how your brain is wired?
So that really is the big question, isn't it? Is keeping a clean house just a good habit you picked up, or is it about sheer willpower? Well, it turns out psychology suggests it might not be either of those things. The real story is way more interesting, and it has everything to do with what's happening upstairs.
So on one hand, you have the common belief. Being clean is about being disciplined or, just liking things to look nice. But the psychological insight? Whoa. It tells us that cleanliness can actually reflect really deep mental patterns and even our core cognitive functions.
Yeah, this is about way more than just tidiness. We're about to dive into that incredible link between our physical space and our mental state, how our everyday habits can literally reveal the secret blueprints of our minds.
Okay, first up, let's head straight to the mind's control center. The first couple psychological traits we're going to look at are all about mental clarity, focus, and how our brains manage all the information and impulses thrown at us every single day.
So what's the very first psychological trait we see in people who keep a tidy home? It's something called strong cognitive control. Now, think about this like your brain's ability to stay on track and resist distractions. It's not just about being organized, it's about a really high level of self-regulation. It's that inner voice that helps you make a consistent, good decision instead of just giving in to the impulse to, say, leave your coat on the chair.
And this all boils down to what psychologists call strong executive function. You can literally think of it as the CEO of your brain, running the show from the prefrontal cortex. This is the part of you that plans, that focuses, and that controls your behavior. So, a clean house often means that CEO is always on the job, making that quick decision to rinse the coffee cup now, instead of letting it sit on the counter for later.
So that's all about our internal self-control. But what about how we react to the world around us? Well, that brings us right to our second trait. And that is a low tolerance for mental clutter. For some people, a messy room isn't just an inconvenience. It feels like a genuine attack on their senses. It's like their minds are just tuned differently, and they're way more sensitive to all those little environmental distractions.
I mean, this quote just says it all. Physical clutter creates mental noise. And that noise, it completely messes with your focus and makes it almost impossible to think clearly. So for people with this trait, cleaning isn't some dreaded chore. It's something they need to do to get back their mental peace.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. We've talked about being in the moment and staying focused. Now let's look at long-term thinking. This next set of traits is all about how getting organized today is actually about making life easier for your future self.
And trait number 3 is all about that. It's about constantly looking ahead. Future-oriented thinking. This is basically the difference between reacting to a mess after it's already happened versus preventing it from ever starting. See, people with this trait are always thinking one step ahead, picturing future problems and taking these small, easy steps now to avoid a big headache later.
Let's just walk through how this works in their head. Step 1, they see something that could become a mess. Step 2, they immediately anticipate the future annoyance, like, that's going to be a pain to clean up later. And finally, step 3, they just deal with it right then and there to prevent it. It's not just about cleaning, right? It's about applying long-term strategic planning to your daily life.
All right, so we've got self-control and future planning down. This next trait, though, it digs into something even more fundamental to our sense of well-being. It's a fundamental need for control and stability. I mean, let's be honest, the world out there can feel pretty chaotic and unpredictable sometimes. But our own personal space, that's one of the few things we can actually control. So for some of us, organizing our home is a really powerful way to build a little sanctuary of stability.
And that's the key takeaway here. A clean environment gives you a sense of predictability. You know exactly where everything is, you know what to expect, and that just lowers the mental strain of uncertainty. So it's not about being a neat freak. It's about managing anxiety and creating your own little pocket of order in a messy world.
And that brings us to our fifth and final psychological trait. And this one is all about how we see the world.
Attention to detail. This is all about perception. Think about it. People who keep their homes super clean often notice the little tiny things that the rest of us might completely miss, like a single speck of dust on a table or a picture frame that's just a little bit crooked. Their minds are just naturally tuned to see those small inconsistencies. And this is not just some random quirk.
Psychology actually links this incredible attention to detail with a higher level of cognitive processing. Their brain is basically hardwired to automatically spot what's out of place, like that one book on the shelf that isn't perfectly lined up with the others. It's almost a sixth sense.
So, let's pull all of this together. If you were to look at your own space right now, what might it be saying about your mind? Because as we've just seen, it's about so much more than just cleaning.
We've explored 5 core concepts today: control, clarity, planning, awareness, and attention. Each one of these is a different piece of the puzzle, showing us how our minds work, and it's all reflected in the simple act of keeping a home.
And really, that's the big idea here. What seems like just a simple, boring routine might actually be a crystal clear reflection of your deepest cognitive patterns. Keeping a clean house isn't just a habit. It's a sign of how the mind itself is structured and organized.
So, I'm going to leave you with this question to think about. Do you personally feel more focused and clear-headed in a clean space? Or does it honestly not affect you at all? Take a look around you, because your space might be telling you a lot more about yourself than you think. Thanks so much for digging into this with me.